Imagine an ancient clay jar, unassuming, pulled from the desert sands, but inside, a copper cylinder, an iron rod, and the faint, ghostly traces of an acidic liquid. In other words, a functioning battery, crafted over 2,000 years before electricity was supposedly invented. Historians deny it. Scientists fiercely debate it, but the artifact exists. And if it's real, our entire understanding of the past, a neatly organized timeline of human progress, completely collapses. This is the story of the Baghdad Battery, a piece of ancient technology that simply should not exist. In 1936, a team of archaeologists was digging near Kujat Rabu, just outside of modern Baghdad. They were searching for remnants of the Parthian Empire, a civilization that thrived over 2 millennia ago. Amidst the usual pottery shards and ruins, they found something that didn't fit, a small 5-inch tall terracotta pot. It was sealed with an asphalt plug. Curiosity piqued. They opened it. Inside, they discovered a tightly rolled sheet of copper, forming a cylinder. And inside that cylinder, suspended but not touching the copper, was an iron rod, held in place by another asphalt stopper. The whole assembly was bizarre. It wasn't for storing grain or wine. It wasn't some kind of decorative vase. It looked engineered. It looked like a device. The director of the National Museum of Iraq at the time, Wilhelm Koenig, was the first to propose the shocking theory. He recognized the components to different metals, an insulator and evidence of a liquid electrolyte, likely vinegar or grape juice. It was a galvanic cell, a battery. The idea was so radical, so completely out of place in the ancient world, that it was largely dismissed. For decades, the jar sat in the museum, a strange but ignored curiosity. But the question wouldn't go away. Could it actually work? Years later, scientists and researchers decided to put the theory to the test. They built exact replicas of the Baghdad Battery using the same materials available to the ancient Parthians. They poured in a simple acidic liquid, like grape juice. The result was stunning. The replicas produced a steady, usable electric current, anywhere from half a volt to nearly 2 volts. It was undeniable the design worked. This wasn't a fluke. The ancient artifact was, in every functional sense of the word, a battery. The implications are staggering. This means that someone, 200 years before the birth of Christ, understood the fundamental principles of electrochemistry. But here's where the mystery deepens into an abyss. How did they know? The principles of electricity, of galvanic cells, were only formally discovered by Alessandro Volta in the 1800s. We have thousands of ancient texts from Mesopotamia, cuneiform tablets detailing everything from laws and trade to astronomy and myths. Yet, in all those records, there is not a single mention of electricity, no schematics, no instruction manuals, no scientific treatises explaining how to build or use these devices. It's like finding a fully functional smartphone in a sealed Egyptian tomb. With no user guide and no mention of cellular networks in any hieroglyphs, the object is real, the science is sound, but the historical context is a complete void. It's a technological ghost. So, what was it for? This is where the debate gets heated, and the theories get wild. The most mainstream, safe explanation is that it was used for electroplating, fusing a thin layer of gold or silver onto another metal. This would have been a cheap way to make jewelry or statues look like they were made of solid precious metal. It sounds plausible, right? There's just one huge problem. Archaeologists have never found a single unambiguously electroplated artifact from that time and region. If they had this revolutionary technology, why didn't they use it? Where are all the gold-plated copper trinkets? They simply don't exist. The evidence just isn't there. Another theory suggests it was a medical device. Some have proposed it could have been used for a primitive form of electroacupuncture, delivering a gentle tingling shock to a patient to relieve pain. This aligns with certain ancient beliefs about the healing power of electric fish, like the Nile catfish. The idea is that this battery was a man-made version of that natural phenomenon. Again, it's an interesting hypothesis, but it's pure speculation. There are no medical texts, no records, no other archaeological finds to support the idea of electrical therapy being practiced in the ancient world. It would be a complete one-off, an isolated medical miracle with no known parallel. Then we enter the realm of the truly strange. One popular theory is that the batteries were used in religious rituals. Imagine a priest holding a metal statue of a god. An initiate reaches out to touch it and receives a small but surprising electric shock. The feeling would be otherworldly, magical. It would be seen as the power of the god made manifest, a tangible sign of divine presence. Multiple batteries could even be linked together to create a stronger jolt, further enhancing the effect. This would explain why the knowledge was kept secret, passed down only within a small priestly caste to maintain their power and influence over the populace. It's a compelling story, but once again, it is unproven. It remains a fascinating but unsubstantiated theory. Finally, we arrive at the theory that historians and mainstream archaeologists absolutely hate. The theory that this knowledge was not a human invention. Some researchers, looking at the evidence, or lack thereof, argue that the design is too efficient, too perfect, to be an accidental discovery. They suggest that the knowledge of how to build these batteries was given to humanity by a more advanced civilization. Whether you want to call them ancient aliens or a lost, highly advanced human society like Atlantis, the idea is the same. Our ancestors were pupils, not pioneers. This artifact, they argue, is a piece of inherited technology, a remnant of forgotten science that was far beyond the Parthians' own capabilities. It's a radical idea, but it's one that attempts to fill the baffling void in our historical record. And here's the thing. The Baghdad Battery isn't entirely alone. It's part of a global pattern of artifacts and sites that hint at a forgotten chapter of our technological past. Travel to Egypt, and you'll find the Dendora Temple Complex. Carved on its walls is a baffling image known as the Dendora Light. It depicts figures holding what looks uncannily like a massive light bulb, complete with a filament and a cable connecting it to a power pack-like box. Mainstream Egyptologists say it's a depiction of a lotus flower and a snake, a mythological symbol, but to others it's a clear schematic for an electrical device. Look at the astonishingly precise stonework at sites like Puma Punku in Bolivia, where massive blocks of the hardest granite are cut with laser-like accuracy and fitted together like puzzle pieces. How is this achieved with primitive tools? Consider the magnetic anomalies detected in ancient ruins across South America, suggesting a deep understanding of forces we've only recently harnessed. Different continents, different civilizations, separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, yet they all share the same tantalizing mystery. It seems someone, somewhere, understood advanced principles of energy and engineering long before we did, so we're left with an impossible artifact. If the Baghdad Battery is what it appears to be, then our view of the ancient world is fundamentally wrong. Our ancestors weren't just primitive people living in mud huts. They may have possessed pockets of incredible scientific knowledge that was somehow lost to the sands of time. Was it wiped out by a catastrophe? Was it deliberately hidden by a secretive elite? Or was it a gift from a source we can't yet comprehend? If they mastered electricity 2,000 years ahead of schedule, it begs the question, what else did they know? What other secrets are buried, waiting to be rediscovered? The Baghdad Battery doesn't just challenge history, it invites us to question everything we think we know about the human story. Thank you for joining us in the Mystery Vault. If you want to explore more secrets from our past that could rewrite the future, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. The deepest truths are often the ones they told us never to look for.